Welcome to Storytime with Miss Webmaker. Here I will post a premiere video on the 13th of every month where I tell you a story as if we're friends sitting around the campfire in the middle of the dark woods at night, trying to scare the hell out of one another. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and ring that bell so you'll be notified the next time I post another video. For now, turn the lights off, put on your headphones, turn up the volume, and immerse yourself in the world of Miss Webmaker. This story is about Sara. She too thought she could do it by herself. You see, she was an introvert. She enjoyed her time alone, and it was difficult for her to make friends and to be in any social environment without being awkward, without feeling weird. So she would go out on little excursions on her own, and she wouldn't tell anyone where she was going or when she'd be back. It's probably the worst decision she ever made. I wonder if she regrets it. You see, a few years ago, it was a nice, cool fall day, the sun high in the sky, no clouds, the perfect day for a hike. Except this time, Sara decided to travel a little further for her hike. So she drove to the outskirts of town. Towards the mountains. She left her car at the bottom of the forestry line and grabbed her backpack and went on walking into the trees. There was no path. She never really needed them. She had good direction. She could sense which way was north, which way was south. She knew how to get back to her car. And she had planned on being back before dark. That's why she didn't bring a flashlight. Another mistake. Yet another was leaving her phone in her car because she didn't have signal. So why bring it? At least that's what she thought. But you never know when a bar will save your life. She had been hiking through the forest and up into the mountains for 2 or 3 hours. Sweat dripped down her neck, under her shirt, made her shirt stick to her back. She reached the spot to take a break, and she sat down in the grass to eat a granola bar she had brought. And while she was taking a drink of her water, she noticed something behind a brush. Something dark, hidden behind a thorn bush. So she stood up and walked over to investigate. She realized there was a cave in the mountainside. Her heart started beating. Her breath picked up. A cave. Who knew if anyone has ever seen it before? Perhaps within held secrets that eyes hadn't seen for hundreds of years, and she could be the first. So she grabbed her backpack and she pushed inside. The air was cool, damp. It felt good against her skin. She felt along the walls. Wishing that she had brought her flashlight. Remembering the lighter she had in her backpack for when she used to smoke, she pulled it out and flicked it. The light only flickered alive for half a second before it went out again, so she flicked it again. This time, the glow emitted a light that radiated around her, bouncing off the walls of the cave. Dark stone with little shimmers of minerals. Inside the cave, it opened up into a large room. As she's turning around to look at the walls and look above her, she hears a noise. Some soft tapping. She quickly turns to see what it is, and she sees a shadow scurry away across the room. Thinking it was probably a squirrel or who knows what little creature, she took a couple steps toward it, hoping that the light from her tiny lighter would be enough to illuminate it and show her it was nothing to be afraid of. Her heart beat in her chest. She held her breath without thinking. She still couldn't see it. She took another step and another until she was right in the middle of the room. And the fire reflected off 2 eyes. And then she heard it. A heart-wrenching cracking sound. Under her feet. The sound of crumbling, almost as if standing on thin ice. She froze. Her heart raced. Her breathing quickened. Again, a splintering crack. She looked down at her feet, and seeing the floor was almost like glass. It was opaque, and she could see the little splinters forming under her feet and spreading, stretching as she breathed. She started thinking as fast as she could. I need to get to the door. I need to get to the doorway. I need to get out. I need to move. I need to move now. But her feet wouldn't move. They were frozen in place. Come on, I gotta move. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go now. Still, she couldn't force herself to move. Her heart beat so hard, her chest hurt. Tears formed in the corners of her eyes. Come on, I could do this. Come on. She scooted her feet, just slightly, carefully, slowly. More cracking. Come on. I gotta get out of here. Please. I gotta get out of here. She moved her feet another step. Going as carefully as she could. And still creating splinters in the floor under her. Think, I gotta think. What do I do? What do I do? And then she remembered watching some video years ago about what to do if you're on a frozen lake and the ice starts to break under you. She slowly began to lower herself to the floor. Slowly, as carefully as she could. I could do this. just want to go home. With each movement, she could hear more cracking, more splintering, till she was finally laying on her stomach on the floor. And she began to try to slide herself to the entrance of the cave, one tiny inch at a time. And with each tiny moment, each tiny movement of her hands on the ice, on what was acting like ice, the floor of the cave cracked further. The lines becoming deeper as she moved. I can do this. I have to do this. I have to get out of here. Her tears slid down her face. And she reached up, pushed her glasses back up on her nose. She blinked away her tears as much as she could so she could continue to see that she didn't want to see. She didn't want to see it. She didn't want to hear it. She just wanted out. So she kept moving. She kept sliding. She was only a couple feet away from the entrance of the cave. I could do it. I could do it. I could get out of here. I could do it. Just keep going. She heard a boom underneath her, ear-shattering, heart-stopping. She froze. Then the ground underneath her broke and fell away. And she fell. Her ear-splitting scream rose to the cave above her, and she fell into the dark depths below and crashed hard on the ground. Her head bounced off of a stone. A blinding pain erupted in her skull as she held her head, so thankful to have hit solid ground, and yet doing everything she could to not pass out from the pain. Her glasses had flew off when she hit the rock with her head. She didn't know where they were. It was dark, and she couldn't see hardly at all without her glasses. She didn't have light. When she had fell, the impact had knocked the wind out of her, and she had loosened her grip on the lighter and reaching around her now, patting on the floor. She couldn't find it. She couldn't feel anything. She couldn't see anything. And then she heard it again. The tapping. What is that? What is that? Hello? Is someone there? She sat up on her knees and started patting the ground around her, looking for her glasses or the lighter or just something to help her. Finally, she ran her fingers across something that felt like her lighter as she grasped it. Just thank you. Thank you. And she flicked it. And in the moment of light that she had, her heart sank. The walls around her were moving. Crawling. She flicked her lighter again. And she looked. They were crawling still. She flicked her lighter again, and the light reflected off of thousands of eyes. She flicked it again, and this time it struck. The flame grew. The light filled the room. And her heart stopped. Thousands of huge spiders bigger than her head, most of which were tapping on the walls and the floor beneath her, watching, crawling, tapping. Oh my. She turned. There was no escape. She couldn't see a hole where the cave would continue on. The floor under her looked like solid stone and covered in bones. Her light flickered. The flames slowly began to die and grow smaller and smaller. And the tapping stopped. The light that reflected in all of their eyes shrunk and dimmed. And their large, furry bodies began to crawl towards her. And the flame went out.
She flicked her lighter again. And it only lit for a moment, and in that moment, she seen they were no longer on the walls, but on the floor just feet away from her. She flicked the lighter again, even closer. Flicked the lighter again, closer. She flicked the lighter the third time, and it ignited. Just as she felt the furry leg crawl up her boot. Thousands of huge spiders began to crawl up her legs as she jumped and swatted and screamed. And then the light went out for the last time. Her scream echoed through the cave. A petrified voice pleading for someone to help her. And then silence. After a while, you could hear it. They were waiting. Waiting for their next prize to fall into their pit. But it's not the tapping you have to worry about. It's the silence. The silence in the dark.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. These stories will get better the farther into the series we go, as I am telling them completely ad lib. I sincerely appreciate you watching and would love for you to share it with your friends, especially the easily scared. That's all for now. I'll see you right here on the 13th of every month for a new episode of Storytime with Miss Webmaker. Bye.